Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the Giro della Toscana here in beautiful Tuscany. It is a spectacular day. We've got with race 191.5 kilometers starting in Pontedera. The riders headed south through this stunning part of the world, and they're making their way back up north. We're currently on the second lap with the big climb, which we'll come to a little bit. We're just enjoying some pictures of Pontedera, this town. Around about 30,000 people at the moment, and it's they generally come out and support these races, and we get a nice glimpse of the scenery in this part of the world. It is truly spectacular, and we can see some of the riders' presentation taking place earlier on today. 18 teams in the race, and some big news that broke a couple of days ago that a certain Slovenian rider making his return to the peloton over the next couple of days. Tadej Pogačar enjoying a relaxing break, and now back to racing for the Italian Classics coming up over the next month or so. I'm Ian Findlay, alongside me Brian Smith. And Brian, great to have you along as we're seeing some of the riders making their way out to the start a little bit earlier on. It's a pretty nice day, going up to around about 27, 28 degrees. It's ideal for racing in this part of the world.
Yeah, perfect conditions. Bit of a hill to go up on this circuit of just over 50 kilometres, but this is the Italian teams are really motivated in this part of the world. Every year, we have some good racing, and expect some good racing today. This race has been a little bit different throughout the years. It even went up to 360 kilometres. But traditionally it comes down to kind of punchy riders. They can go over the climb and sprint a little bit at the end. So, yeah, it's been an interesting race so far. So hopefully when we go to the live action, we'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the riders out on the climb there, Monte Serra. They've already been over it once. It's a pretty tough climb as well, averaging out about 7.1%. It sneaks up to 11% as well, as we see Ineos Grenadiers there. And they'll be hoping to go very well today. Ethan Hayter coming across from Canada. I believe he was out in the couple of races over there, the World Tour races. So quick trip across the pond. Good to see Guillaume Martin racing. Brian, what do you reckon of Martin's chances in this Cofidis squad today?
Well, I think you just mentioned it there. There's quite a few riders coming over from Canada, and I used to think it was better going over there than coming back. So I think a wee bit of jet lag might be kind of kicking in. But this is the kind of first one of kind of many. Carapaz is here, the Ecuadorian champion, but I really do think that there are a few people that will ride well today, but it depends on how they've kind of pulled up after we'd Tour of Britain as well, with a few riders that have ridden that. A few riders have been quiet, of course, one of them being the Pogačar, not racing after the World Championship. So he's had a break, he wanted a rest, so let's see what form he's in.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him go today. There he is, just signing a few autographs. Relaxed, like he's been on the beach. I'm sure he's been doing some riding at home in Slovenia as well, a beautiful part of the world. And Gal Glivar from the UAE Team Emirates making his debut actually for the team today. Young Slovenian rider that's got a lot of people talking. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this one as well. But the man a lot of people weren't necessarily expecting to see today. But great to have him in the race, and it's brought a little bit more attention on the race as well. Louis Mentis is back in the field as well after pretty bad injury at the Tour. Fractures his collarbone. He had surgery on that pretty quickly in Berlin. So good to see a few riders back, and there'll be a few riders here, Brian, that are just trying to ride themselves back into a little bit of form. But we'll get a look now at the route here. It's the race has been going for a few hours already. They made their way south out of Pontedera on this circuit, the Lajatico circuit that we did twice earlier on. That's already happened. There was a couple of small climbs in there, but not enough to cause too many challenges, and then we made our way back up towards Peccioli, and then back towards Pontedera onto the second lap of the course there, Monte Serra, the big climb between Calci and Buti, and hopefully we're going to pick the riders up just before that second climb. 613 meters we top out at, so not huge in terms of altitude, but enough to test them, and it's a pretty long climb as well. We make our way back into Pontedera, and we'll see how it all plays out. As you can see, we're on the second lap here again, so we work our way back, and certainly it's come down to a couple of breakaways last year. Mark Hirschi taking the win. It was a group of 5 riders that broke away, and Hirschi sprinted off to a victory. Just got a feeling that may be how it goes again today, but we'll see. So certainly the road looks good for a sprint if you have the legs over the climb. As a few hours ago, 11:20 local time, UAE Team Emirates made their way. It was 24 degrees earlier, no wind. It's as I'm saying, going up to around about 27, 28. Pretty nice Tuscan autumn day in this part of the world. Now, Brian, a lot of eyes are going to be on Pogačar here, but I don't expect him to see him go for it. I think he's just riding into just testing his legs again, really, ahead of some bigger races to come.
Do you know, it'll be interesting to see. You never know where you are. Okay, they've got their data and things like that they can look at, but if he's had a real break, then I think he would just be out to have a little bit of fun. But a Pogačar having a little bit of fun is probably dangerous to many other teams, but they've got a strong enough team. Like you just mentioned it, they won it last year, but even Groschartner has been riding well. George Bennett is in there, Formolo, the Italian rider, so they've got a strong enough team to deliver the victory. And I think we always say it's over the past it has been a bit of a bunch kick. Gaviria has won here by just kind of clipping off as we went round the kind of final roundabout at the corner into the finishing straight. But then again, if it's hard enough, it kind of whittles down a little bit to a smaller group. So let's see how hard they race. I believe that we had a breakaway of about 9 riders earlier on today, and over the first climb there was 3 riders still away. Hopefully with this long introduction we'll get straight to the live and bring you the live action.
Yeah, let's hope so indeed. Busy couple of days here in Italy. Another race coming up tomorrow. So kilometre 0, the racing getting underway, and hopefully we'll be jumping onto the live action very, very soon indeed. So tomorrow, same time, it's the 71st Coppa Sabatini. I'll be bringing you coverage of that one as well. So looking forward to that. Same start list as well. And some little bonus prize money on offer for the best rider over today's race and tomorrow's race as well. So this is the early start of the race. We're approaching 150 kilometers in this 191.5 kilometer race, starting and finishing in Pontedera here in the Pisa area. We're about 20 kilometers away from Pisa, 50 kilometers from Florence in the province of Pisa. And here we go, we're back out onto the live action. And we can see there De Marchi from Italy. Little break along with Garosio and Calzoni. So Brian, it's the Italian riders, Cabot in there as well, that are out in front. But just 30 seconds and we've still got this climb to go. So this one has got a lot still to play out.
Yeah, this is looks like the remnants of what we had, a 9-man breakaway. And, Debarchi in here just at the back there for Jaco Alula is probably the most experienced of the riders. We see him in Grand Tours and a lot of races trying to get in the breakaway, a valuable rider to have on the team. And it's good to have a rider like that there. He'll keep the breakaway working well, but also it takes the pressure off the team behind. It'll be interesting to see, Ian, when we get back to the peloton, who's actually pulling at the front, because as you said, 30 seconds not a lot, and it won't be long until we hit that climb. 9.3 kilometers long at 6.6 average.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It looks like we're back in the peloton there, the UAE Team Emirates rider. Of course, this man's going to get quite a bit of attention today. A real bonus for the organisation, for the organisers to have him here. But I think with Karparaz and Mente's back as well, it's a really strong start list. Lutsenko in the mix as well for Astana, Kazakhstan team. He's gone well in the race that we've got coming up tomorrow. You can see on GCM Plus. Well, it looks like it's no one's really pulling too much in the peloton at the moment. Perhaps it's just the just waiting to see how it goes on the in the climb. EF Education, Easy Post look like they're on the front at the moment. So perhaps just trying to keep someone like Karparaz close to the front.
Yeah, a couple of teams pulling. As you said, the boys in pink there, EF Education, Easy Post, and also it looked like UAE were riding. And look, there's still a question mark over Pogačar, whether it's going to be himself, but maybe possibly Formolo or someone like Grossschartner. You know, they're the two riders that I think are on form for that team. But you know, we'll wait and see. But Valgren's won here, and he's coming back. Commentated in the Tour of Denmark a few weeks ago, and he was starting to come to reasonable form. Richard Carapaz, another rider that's had a glittering career, the Olympic champion. So he'll be hoping to do something. So I really do think that they're the team. So it's Simon Carr, the young French Brit or British French rider at the front. But there's plenty of options for both of these teams.
Options indeed. Ineos just hanging near the front as well. Be quite keen if it might come down to a sprint, but we've obviously still got the Monte Serra to come, and that could blow things open. But it looks like the peloton just happy to have those riders out in front, and they're just going to keep this gap manageable. That's hovering around about 30 seconds or so, 28 on the clock at the moment, and the riders know this circuit. They've already been round it once, and we're building towards the second climb and the finish of this race with under 40 kilometers to go at the moment. We head towards the town, a little village, fair to say, of Calci. Up over the climb and then into Booty. Place is just a few thousand people. Traditional Tuscan villages, lovely small streets and beautiful scenery. It's a part of the world, Brian, I'd quite happily spend lots and lots of time in.
Well, I was asked in my favourite place to ride, and I said Tuscany over the years, in different places I've either trained or raced. And not only it's just kind of good roads, it's, as you know yourself, some nice wine and nice meals, especially in the evenings. So yeah, it's a great part of the world and somewhere where I've spent quite a lot of time.
I was lucky enough to be in Siena back in July for a different event, and it's whetted the appetite to head to Strada Bianchi at some point, and it's absolutely just a beautiful town. A certain commentator that we know well gave us good pizza recommendation there. So, well, they could see the landscapes here. We can just enjoy this. Great the helicopter shots, and you see this all over the part of the world as the race is still building towards the second climb. Gaps just come down to about 20 seconds. So, yeah, spot on, Brian. I think the teams are starting to just push this. Still, EF Education on the front, but yeah, UAE Team Emirates in there. We talked a little bit about Grossschartner. He is an exceptional climber, having won the European Climbing Championships earlier this year, and it'd be interesting to see if how they play at UAE Team Emirates. But there's a lot of other riders in there that are going to be up for this one. We haven't talked about any of the US Cadel riders. We know that that is a team full of climbers in there. Michael Leonard, a Canadian from Ineos Grenadiers, might be looking at this one as well. So it's hard to pick out who is going to be leading and going for it for the team. But we've still got these four riders out in front. But this gap's come down in just the last couple of minutes, down to 15 seconds.
Yeah, what they're doing is, as they often do with this climb coming up, they want to get good position. So, we get a lot of kind of colour blocking. Initially it was EF Education Easy Post that we're riding with the UAE Team Emirates and, Innis Grenadiers and a few other teams that have come up. But I think looking at the riders that are here, you have to think that Civikov, the result he got at the weekend and the way he rode, he truly is coming into form. But as we're kind of speculating, very difficult to come back from the other side of the world back to Italy and feel good. They've also got Ethan Hayter in the mix as well. Magnus Sheffield did a really good Tour of Britain, which finished on Sunday. So there's a few riders in here. It's how you recover from these kind of efforts that you've done recently, especially the kind of jet lag as well, because every hour that of a change, you need at least a day to get over that. But I'm just looking at UAE Team Emirates here in the white and the black towards the front, and Pogacar is in the line, but just behind him he has got Groschardt. Now it really depends, because we've seen him being flamboyant in the past with the way he races, but at the same time he's quite prepared to kind of help out his own teammates.
Yeah, it's all about he's building towards the end of the season as we're into the town of Calci here, as you can see. Another traditional Tuscan town. It's all building towards the end of the season, getting the races into the legs, and with obviously the World Championships happening a lot earlier in the year as well, it's perhaps put a bit more focus, Brian, on some of these races. Not that they really need much more focus as well, but there's often at this time of the season we're still be roundabout now when the World Championships would probably be happening, maybe a week or so earlier or later, and it keeps a focus up throughout the year. But with those Worlds earlier, now it's there's a few riders looking to salvage seasons, salvage contracts and things. So I think we're going to see over the next month or so some really blistering racing.
No, definitely we will. We can still get the Europeans in road cycling, and plus Lombardia, the last monument of the season. So I think that's what these races are kind of built towards. And it's nice you come to this part of the world. You've got a lot of one-day races. I'm covering a few races up in the north in Belgium, so they've got their kind of races. So a team will come here with a certain amount of riders, and stay here for the next 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks, and have a nice block of racing. But these races, traditionally in the past, some of them used to be the kind of build up for the World Championships. They used to be really, really hard races, but the World Championships now moved to the kind of end of September, and they kind of moved around the calendar a little bit, these races. But as we know, we had the Super Worlds in Glasgow at the start of August. So yeah, a lot of riders here. We're just seeing what they think could be the protagonist today.
Well, there's Groschardt, Carperaz there. That's some of the favourites, but as we know in this game, who knows what is going to happen. We're starting to hit towards the climb, Testa della Corsa, the front of the course. Practicing my Italian. It's not a language I'm particularly strong on at the moment, but going to learn, and we'll work our way through the town and then start to head up onto the slopes of the Monte Serra. Starting to stretch out just a little bit there at the front, so it looks like the peloton riding pretty hard at the moment, Brian.
Yeah, I can see the gaps happening at the back. You can see the faces of the riders at the front, and they're really riding into this climb with a bit of zest. And it's 9.3 kilometres. Normally, when you ride into a climb like that, you ride it a little bit steadier. It's more about positioning, but they are really riding into this climb with a little bit of pace, and it's, I think, under the power of Davide Formolo, the Italian rider riding for UAE Team Emirates.
Well, there's the data on the climb, 7.9, average is 6.9%, 7%. It does go up to over 11% in a couple of bursts, so it's certainly one that is a real tester, and the speed that they've come in at and the effort. It's UAE Team Emirates that are now really controlling this one. They've got such a quality squad that they've brought here, and we've got, as we get, Brian, at these Europe Tour races, UCI Europe Tour races, a real mix. We've got the World Tour teams with some obviously out-and-out superstars, but then some of the smaller teams, continental teams in here as well. Obviously, this stage of the season, they're fighting for sponsorship, and so there's just so much to play for, and I wonder if we'll see some of the smaller teams pushing it and trying to get some airtime, perhaps.
Well, at this pace is going to be hard.
It's going to be tough, yeah.
Yeah, because we know that World Tour races and a lot of these riders ride them week in, week out, and the different kettle of fish. They're somewhat harder than the other races that many of the kind of smaller teams ride. So, and the speed that Formula is doing here is, when we thought if there was any riders here that think they can get over this climb, have something left in the sprints, they've got another thing coming, because it looks as if UAE Team Emirates want to split this up considerably. They don't want to kind of wait around. It does look as if Pogacar is riding well so far. Grosschartner's just kind of drifting a little bit. Carapaz is there. Sivakov is there. A few riders kind of caught out of position. They're starting to move up a little bit more now, but some of these spoils teams, these are big races for them. If they can get any result whatsoever from them, it's absolutely brilliant. But when you get a team like this kind of ripping up this climb, it's going to be very, very difficult to compete.
See just on the back of the group, Jesus Pena from the Colombian from Jaco Alula, trying to stay in touch. He's on the back of the EF Education Easy Post Rider Cepeda there, but UAE Team Emirates, as you say, they've split it, and they've split it pretty quickly as well. Now it's thinned out, and this is similar to what happened last year. We ended up with that 5-man breakaway sprinting for the line that Hershey took. So UAE Team Emirates know how to win this race. It's been some big winners over the past few years: Moscon, Visconti, Gaviria, Valgren, and Hershey, as we've been saying. So a small elite group coming at the front of the climb, and a couple of those riders we were just talking about not able to stay in touch. It is some pace that UAE Emirates are setting at the front right now.
Yeah, not a lot you can do, and they've got 4 riders in that front group.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I mentioned him before, Michael Valgren of EF Education Easy Post in the pink. He's not a climber. He can get over climbs and he can sprint very well, as he's already won this race in the past. He's hanging on to the coattails of the UAE Team Emirates teams. A couple of riders here, one from Q36.5 and from Iola Cometa, trying to kind of hang in there, but they're being distanced as well, and that's Fortunato. And Fortunato, a very, very good climber, and just behind him for Q36 is Brambilla, and he's latter year. So this is really breaking down this front of this race to a very small group of about 7 riders.
Yeah, and Valgren certainly a rider that's he's probably a little fresher than some of the other riders. Hasn't done a lot this month, and really throughout August, so July. So perhaps he's fresh in the legs. Still only 31 years old is Valgren, and again, a rider that knows how to get it done. But there's Pogacar just in that Slovenian champions jersey, easy to spot there, and we're seeing towards the back. Well, there is Valgren at the back right now. You can see Grosschartner just in front of him as well, and Filippo Zana, Jaco Alula there as well. So Grosschartner's put quite a big turn in as part of that 4-man group UAE Team Emirates, and we've got the 3 of them at the front at the moment, and they are certainly blown this race wide open with 33 kilometers to go. And just try to look back down the road, and there's just see the next group's probably about 10-15 seconds, and I imagine, Brian, that's the whole peloton's been pretty split throughout this climb already, just with that pace that UAE Team Emirates and a couple of other teams set right at the start of the climb as well. They just upped it and it's blown it apart.
Well, it wasn't a huge peloton when we first came live to air, not the size of the peloton that kind of started this race, so it's been a little bit difficult in the previous lap, but what these guys are doing, incredible. Formolo has been at the front pretty much since the bottom of the climb, setting this hard tempo. Bennett just swings out. He can't go with it, but I tell you what, Pogacar looks good. Grosschartner's a little bit further back, but I think up for the task today seems to be Carapaz as well. He's sitting in third place. He looks good, but Bennett just kind of pulling out there. I think he's starting to suffer. So UAE Team Emirates could be down to just having 3 riders left at the top of this climb.
It's been a big pull that they've put on. Formolo just starting to see a little grimace there, but he has been on the front, and what a pace that he's setting. But Carperaz in the mix as well, and we can see Valgren still hanging on. He's not doing a lot of work here, but he's still in that group, so it is a real elite group we've got on this climb.
Do you know what I think? See if they look around, Ian, and you know, I know Formolo's riding well and riding strong, and you know the harder it is, probably the better it is for Pogačar. But having 4 riders in a group of 8, I wouldn't. You know, if Bennett is kind of hanging on at the back, it's probably better to take him, because the gap back to, you know, these two is increasing all the time, and I don't think Fortunato or Brambilla will make it across on the descent. You know, they're kind of hanging in there. If you can remember the Giro d'Italia not long ago, Fortunato winning up Zoncolan, terrific day for him, but he's
amazing.
Not obviously in that form now. But you would think that you just knock it back just 1 kilometre an hour and make it a difference, and try and keep George Bennett. But it really depends on how Pogačar feels. If he's up for the task and wants to go solo, then, you know, let's see what he can do.
Yeah, it would be some return to racing after the World Championships, but well, a little break. Wow, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's better to keep having the numbers in the front. It forces the other ones to chase. Formolo done a terrific job there, and you know, it's a good effort to make now with Großschartner. So you know, he'll go, but they have to be. It's all about the numbers. Pogačar just going to follow Carapaz, so a good effort here. We noticed earlier on in the climb he dropped back a little bit, and this is tactical play, which, you know, I just love watching. And then Sivakov is coming across, Carapaz, Pogačar, Zana, so it does look as if Valgren and George Bennett not been able to make it across here.
Well, that little move by Großschartner has blown it again, and a couple of the names that you picked out, Brian, Sivakov, Ineos Grenadiers, the Frenchman, out at the front of there's Pogačar as well, Carperaz, and it is, yeah, they're just looking around a little bit here, but Großschartner's just kind of blown it apart.
Yeah, it's not ideal, Ian. Sivakov, as I said, all day long, he rode terrifically on Sunday there. You know, up there with the best. You know, just beaten in the sprint in the end. Incredible form Sivakov has got at the moment, and you know, enjoying his race. And Carapaz, you know, always looks sprightly and will go to the end. Pogačar had a little bit of break, but I really do think they need one other rider. They need the numbers, and Großschartner went on the attack there. He cannot go with it, but I think if Pogačar up against Sivakov and Carapaz, you would think, yeah, still, you know, the favourite, but it'd be nice to see Großschartner come back, and I think that's what Pogačar might want. If Großschartner comes back, then UAE Team Emirates have 2 against Sivakov and Carapaz, and I think that's what's happened.
We can see Zana has drifted off the back there, and you can just get a little bit a sight of the views that we're taking in on the climb. It's still got 31 kilometers to go. It's a pretty testing one. Descent's pretty testing as well. The roads, though, very, very good quality in this part of the world, which is why they're so popular with so many cyclists, professional, amateur as well. And you can just see these gaps out on the screen. It's a beautiful climb, this one, and it's certainly a real tester as well. There's that group of 4 just starting to settle. If they want to get away, they're going to have to work together, but I should say, I do wonder if they'd like maybe UAE Team Emirates. Well, they got the 2 riders there at the moment. It's a tough group. So Pogačar, Großschartner, Carperaz, Sivakov, all in that top 4. Nearly 20 seconds, 18 seconds back to the chasers. There's riders all over the climb at the moment, but they are trying to make this race their own. And it's set up very nicely for Pogačar. Clearly, I mean, rider of his quality, he's not going to lose much over summer, but it's only been a month or so he's had off, really. And there's Zana just a little further back, not able to keep the pace. I was hoping to see a little bit more of Balmer from Jaco Alula. Done a lot on the Mountain Bike World Cup Tour this year, has the Swiss rider, but focusing on the road, as I understand it, for the next few weeks, few months. Zana out on his own, and it's not really where you want to be in a climb like this, just sort of isolated on your own.
He's looking behind because there's a group not that far away, maybe another kind of 20, 30 seconds behind, but he's close enough to see these riders, and he's holding 18 seconds. Difficult thing to do when you initially get dropped, but Groschartner doing a tempo in the front, then he's kind of doing the same speed. He's hoping that possibly, well, he's in two minds, but he's looking back whether you wait for reinforcements and you get together on the descent from the top of the climb. This 27.5 kilometres go to the finish. So if these riders start looking at each other, then there's a possibility of coming back. It does look as if he's about to be joined. So it's that kind of question you have to make at these moments. Do you continue on riding in the red, or do you kind of wait up? And it looks as if he's weighted up. But unfortunately, he's weighted up for a rider that's already got two riders in front, and that's Formolo. I really do think that, looking at the tactics here, Ian, I know there's a bit to go to the top of the climb, but if I was UAE Team Emirates, I wouldn't want to just kind of drag Sivakov and Carapaz up this climb. I'd make them work for it, and that's what I thought they were trying to do with Groschartner attacking. They were forcing the hands of Sivakov and Carapaz, but I don't know if you noticed, as soon as Groschartner came back, Sivakov went and accelerated and put him in a little bit of difficulty. So by doing this, you're helping the others. But then again, if Pogačar is on good form, then he can take off at any time. But I really do think there's potentially UAE Team Emirates could use the numbers here.
Well, it would make sense, wouldn't I? I wonder, still a little bit of the climb to go. Are we going to see any more testing moves? Maybe Groschartner goes, but it's still quite a long way into back into Pontedera, so it's possible that you could have a big effort made and then not be able to get through to the finish, hold it to the finish. So it's far enough out that we could still see one or two riders come back if they're able to just keep up the pace on the climb. There's the next group. It's Ineos Grenadier rider Sivakov at the front with Pogačar, and it is, we've lost Groschartner from this group now.
See, this is what I was saying a moment ago, Ian. Riding at the front tempo is just helping Sivakov and Carapaz as well. They're not putting their nose in the wind. Now you've got a situation of Sivakov clearly on form. Pogačar is just going to follow. Carapaz is just drifting a little bit. But did you see the size of the group behind? There was a lot of riders, maybe about 16 riders behind. And if they can come 50 seconds, if they can come over the top of the climb, get down the other side, and there's enough numbers to work, then they can bring it all back together. But I think this is a man that's shown he's got the form at moments and wants to try and win the race. Unfortunately, he didn't on Sunday. He was beaten by a slightly quicker rider, and when he looks back, he's not got much of a sprint, Sivakov. So what he's trying to do now is just test everybody, and even Pogačar, just test him, because if he comes to the finish with any of these riders, then I think it's going to be very difficult for him to win.
Well, we see Carapaz here. He'd lost contact with Sivakov and Pogačar, but he's been fighting really hard to get back in touch. It's a good recovery here, just to get back almost on Pogačar's wheel. And you see Sivakov just looking over his shoulder through these hairpins that we have, making our way.
Pogačar's gone up.
Yeah,
that's what he was hoping for. And I think Carapaz, he just saw the kilometre to go, and he wanted to just get up to these riders before the top of the climb. But Sivakov using the form that he's got, pushing on. This is what he was thinking about. Now Pogačar has to think about this, because UAE Team Emirates had the numbers. You've got Groschartner just behind. I know he has to be there, but I just don't understand why Groschartner would just sit in front. It was clearly helping Sivakov and Carapaz, and Pogačar, it's just gone pop in the last few hundred metres of this climb.
And he's losing the wheel of Carperaz as well here as we're approaching the top of the climb. Can still see Sivakov out in front, but yeah, it's interesting. Tactically, it hasn't really worked out here. I did think, like yourself, that UAE Team Emirates perhaps really could have tested Sivakov and Carperaz a little more, but it hasn't worked out. But as you can see, we've got 28.5 kilometers to go in this race. Still a little bit of climbing on this one. And as you said, Brian, there's that big group behind him with the descent and the run-in to Pontedera. They could bring it back. 400 meters to go on the climb for Sivakov, and now he's really got to dig deep. He's not going to have a lot of an advantage over the top.
And that's the trouble. That's the trouble, because Pogacar will come down here like a bat out of hell, and Carapaz as well. Both very, very good descenders, and this is why Sivakov has to get as much advantage as possible, because I do believe in this descent Carapaz and Pogacar can come back. But it just goes to show you that Pogacar not quite back where he would like to be. He's just kind of back his first race back. So, but he's got Groschartner just behind, and I don't think he can wait for Groschartner, his teammates. I think he has to limit the losses here and try and come back to these two in the descent.
Well, 7 seconds the gap, but this is exactly why Pogacar is here. It's to get the racing legs back for, like say, Il Lombardia at the in a few weeks' time. So Pogacar 15 seconds back off Sivakov, and that's not exactly a huge amount, especially with the descending quality that Pogacar's got. Carperaz 8 seconds back, and big crowd here. I have to say, very respectful crowd as well, keeping pretty well to the side of the road, but everyone trying to get their moments, and they've left a lot of space for the riders. I like to see that, but they know they're racing around here as Sivakov from Ineos Grenadiers is the first over the climb, followed by Carperaz, and then Pogacar. Now we're on to the descent. This is where it gets a little tasty. It's a relatively simple run-in over the next 28 kilometers back into Pontedera. The final 3 kilometers, a couple of tight turns in there as well. So certainly not looking like we're going to have a bunch sprint, but you never know.
Well, just about to say, Ian, that none of them can hang around, but that glance round, that swig of the bottle, I think Pogacar's now thinking he's not as strong as these two riders in front now. He needs some help, and it looks as if, because he can descend really well, as everybody knows, but I really do think now that he's looked around, see where Groschartner is, and potentially waiting for some allies. While at the front here, Sivakov is just concentrating and going solo the whole time. If Carapaz comes up to him, he's going to find it very difficult to lose him, and he will lose in a sprint finish come the end. So for Sivakov to try and win this, and it's been a long time since we've ever had a solo winner of this race, but 27 kilometres is a long way, but he's going to give it a good go, and if MD can do it, Sivakov can, because of the way he rode in Montreal at the weekend there shows that he's got really good form at the moment.
Well, Carperaz 11 seconds back at the time check. A good descender as well, but Sivakov, yeah, it's going to be tough. See there's the help that Pogacar was wanting. So Groschartner back up with Pogacar, and now that's a loyal lieutenant there for Pogacar. Groschartner's rode very hard in this race, and now the two of them here. Well, what do you think the tactic will be for the two of them to reel in the riders up ahead?
There's only one chance for them to win now, and it really depends on who is in the group behind, because there was a sizable group, but now that Groschartner is on the wheel, you can see Pogacar just pushing out a little bit more. 25 seconds is not a lot. It's clear that Sivakov is on a good day, but two riders over the next kind of 25 kilometres, it's a little bit easier. Sivakov has got no help whatsoever. Carapaz is on his own. You would think that if Carapaz come up here, then 2 against 2, they're going to stay away. But the problem is Sivakov has not got a great sprint. So the only way he can win is if he comes alone. That's what he's thinking. So it's not a case of wait for Carapaz and we'll make sure that Groschartner and Pogacar don't come back. It's not that scenario. He has to go alone, and it's the only way that he can win this race.
Coming off the back of a big effort in Montreal, back on the 10th, just a few days ago. So, and then that flight, it's how much has he really got left? He's clearly in great form, as you say. But 25 kilometers is a big effort needed to solo to victory, and with Carapaz and the two UAE Team Emirates riders behind, it is you wouldn't necessarily want to be in the Frenchman's shoes right now, because it is going to be tough, but he's going to throw everything he's got at it. And again, he's showing just good form he's in at the moment, descending over 70 kilometers an hour. Beautiful road down through the trees. It does flatten out back towards Pontedera.
Not a lot, is it? Carapaz is there.
Yeah, 10 seconds, and that'll suit Carapaz. You just you can see the two of them now. Carapaz is he's a good descender, as we've been saying, as you guys know at home, and he's just reeling in the Frenchman now.
Yeah, Sivakov not the best descender. He's had an off or two in the descent. Carapaz, we know Pogacar can descend well, so Carapaz, going to catch Sivakov now quite easily in this hairpin here. So not good news for Sivakov, and it'll be interesting to see how he plays this one, because he rode at the weekend with Montreal. He actually rode, and it was a big race, but he rode with Adam Yates in towards the finish. He guaranteed himself, top two performance. If he doesn't ride, then they could be caught by Pogacar, and he couldn't even podium in this race. So, but I think that for the best interest of Sivakov to win this race, he had to go solo. Unfortunately, he didn't have the time. He doesn't descend as well as Carapaz. So now Carapaz in a really good position to win this race for EF Education Easy Post.
If you're Sivakov here, with Carapaz being the better descender, would you be keen to let Carapaz just go in front, keep him pace, or do you think just to help drag Sivakov down the hill a little bit quicker, or would you? Well, that's what's happening now. As we see the cut back to the UAE Team Emirates riders, they're 40 seconds back. Pogacar and Groschartner. Pogacar still out in front, and with Pogacar's descending skills, Groschartner just sitting on that wheel because Groschartner's work is still to come in this race. Not that he's already not done enough, but I'm sure once we hit the flat, we're going to see Groschartner start to take those turns. But you've got the better descender out in front. Will that drag those that are maybe a little more nervous along? See that there. Get a little tasty.
Yeah, just as just kind of snatching at it a little bit. It just goes to show you the effort that he's putting in. They know that they can't kind of hang around. If you noted that Carapaz, when he passed Sivakov there, it was just a head nod, come on and ride. You got to remember these guys were teammates, recently, and will know each other inside out. But Sivakov, I think, we've been maybe a little bit disappointed that Carapaz easily rode up to him in that descent there. Of course, he's still got a chance of winning the race, but he'll just allow Carapaz to go down this tricky descent, just trying to kind of stay with him. But it's a choice you have to make, ride or just sit on Carapaz because he's the better sprinter, but then you risk not even getting on the podium if Pogacar and Groschartner. So it'll be an interesting duel in towards the finish between the two kind of tandems of riders.
And the two UAE Team Emirates riders have closed that gap in a little bit, just 23 seconds now. We could see them on that last shot entering one of the hairpins. It's 21.2 to go in this one. It's set up. Who's your favourite? Who are you picking? Wherever you're watching, it's great to have your company on at GCN Plus for this one. We know you've had a choice of races today, but thank you for sticking with this one. See, there's such a tricky descent. There's these tight hairpins you get in this part of the world. The roads certainly further up the hill can be pretty narrow, bit of street furniture around. There's the odd car as well, so it's not an easy descent. But once we hit the towns, it does open up a little bit here, and Sivakov just not trying to ride away, I would say, from Carapaz, but he's if he's going to do it, he's going to have to do it on his own. He's not going to want to drag Carapaz to the line here.
No, I don't think he's got a lot of choice about this. I really thinks about it. If he rides with Carapaz, they come to the line. It's quite flat in the running. Okay, there's a couple of there's one kind of small climb, but I really do think that UAE Team Emirates duo here will come across. Sivakov can't hold anything back, near will Carapaz. If they want to try and win the race, they have to stop these riders from coming back, because Pogacar got dropped in the climb just over the top, but he has got a very good finish come the end. So I think this race is not over. And the other thing it would be interesting to find out, I don't think we will, because of limited motorbikes we've got, is the chase group behind, because it was strong in numbers, to see what they're doing, because in the last 20 kilometres they could be bringing back maybe 40-50 seconds if they're riding behind, but we've had no glimpse of them so far.
No, we've not seen them there. We're about 50 seconds back, with still I think about a kilometre of climbing to go, so we haven't seen them yet. But now these roads open up and it is a big push. Carapaz on the front at the moment, Sivakov on his wheel, but these two are going to have to work together. Just 20 seconds back are the two UAE Team Emirates riders who we know are going to work together. They're putting everything into getting back in touch with these two leaders. It looks like, Brian, that they, as you say, they were former teammates. They know each other pretty well. They will, if two riders are going to work together, these two are probably going to do it.
I don't think Sivakov has got a choice. He dropped everybody in the climb. He was trying to go solo, but unfortunately he was caught. He knows that Carapaz is a better finisher. But then again, you've got a choice. What do you want to do? Guarantee a top two? Or if you get caught by the two behind, then you might not even get top three with the riders that are there. You might squeeze in there depending on how Groschartner feels. Looking a little bit further back there, Formolo and Zana, we don't know where they are. UAE Team Emirates definitely had the numbers, but it all imploded a little bit towards the top of the climb. Tactics questionable. But the thing for me is there was a strong group not too far behind these guys. They haven't caught up in the descent, but I do think that by the looks of one, I think if it was 40-50 seconds in, I thought there's a chance, but I don't think 107. I don't think the group will come back now, and this is even to Formula and Zana, so the group behind must be maybe 120, and I think that's a little bit too far, because it is a fast run in towards the finish. But Sivakov, great form at the moment and looking good for the end of the season. It's just a pity he is riding with Carapaz, and I think he has to. It's just a pity it looks as if Pogacar and Groschartner might just get up to these guys.
They may well do. Well, it makes it interesting for us. It makes it fun to watch, and that is ultimately what I enjoy. So I hope you guys are enjoying it where you are at home. That third group that we just saw over a minute back as well, and that these are roads I just love riding. These kind of roads, big, wide open, great smooth tarmac. It's absolutely perfect. Why can we not get some of these roads out where I live? It's just potholes. I've had to change my tyres so many times, but that's life. Never mind. Pogacar and Groschartner 18 seconds back, and with under 17 kilometers to go, I think they're relatively safe. Zana and Formolo perhaps not quite going to catch them, and Formolo maybe has a choice to make here. Does he want to get up there and make it 3 UAE Team Emirates riders, or actually can he just hold Zana back? We'll leave it for the 4 riders to fight it out for the podium.
Well, you can see he was riding in, and I think it was a case. Oh, there's the group now. So
yes,
it isn't that far behind. It really depends on what happens, but the gap from Pogacar to the duo in front is coming down. It does look as if Iola Kometov get numbers here and prepared to ride. It really depends now. There's enough riders here, if they all contribute, they can bring it back, but it does look, with gaps opening, arms waving, it doesn't look as if they're riding as a cohesive unit to come back there. So Tejada also for Astana. Everybody getting involved with the chase. You've got many riders from many teams, and it's often the case when you don't get that collusion between all the teams, and it's the only way that they're going to come back. But I think Formolo was riding because he wanted to try and get up to Pogacar and Grosschartner. He was taking Zana, of course, with him, but he wanted to try and kind of help, because just look at the time gap, 22 seconds. It came down to 17, 18 seconds. But it looks as if Sivakov and Carapaz are holding them off.
Yeah, they're riding really, really well together on these roads, and 22 seconds. We saw on the climb that Pogacar, Pogacar, when he's fully at race fitness, it's fair to say he's for him not at the moment, but he'll get there very quickly. He would be bringing that back easily, but maybe he's just not quite got the legs yet. As I said earlier, that is exactly why he's come and added this race and tomorrow's race to his program ahead of Ila Lombardi later in the season. So those are the 4 checks you can see, time checks you can see on screen. 25 seconds, so it's looking good for Carapaz at the moment. There's Pogacar and Grosschartner. Grosschartner's been putting some big turns on the front of this pairing, as you would expect, but it hasn't come down yet. And we've got under 15 kilometers to go. There's the third group, Formolo and Zana. Zana riding on the front, the Jaco Alula rider. They brought a good team to this race, and there's still a podium, maybe more up for grabs. Who knows if they can close in. There's 4 riders up ahead, but that gap, again, it's been hovering about a minute 10, a minute 12 there. It hasn't come in at all, really, and it shows you just how good our 2 leaders are riding at the moment. And Zana perhaps and Formolo perhaps going to get reeled in by this big group that are not too far behind.
I think they will, but I'm having a little bit more confidence in Carapaz and Sivakov now. Gap going out to 28 seconds. There was a choice, and I think Pogacar made the right choice in kind of waiting. It was questionable what UAE Team Emirates did on the climb, of course, just dragging everybody, and when Grosschartner went on the attack there and Pogacar followed, and then he went back and kind of rode on the front. I think that maybe wasn't. I was trying to say at the time, just keep the 4 riders, keep Bennett and that, and go over the top of the climb and use the numbers when you get down the other sides. Well, they don't have numbers at the front now, and I think this is going to help Sivakov a little bit, because if it creeps up a little bit to maybe 40, 50 seconds, which is doable, then Sivakov has got that little bit of a buffer that he can try to kind of save a little bit and try and test Carapaz before we get to the finish, because I really do think that Carapaz could be, he's definitely the favourite for this one now. He packs the better sprint of both, and I think for Sivakov, you have to feel for him. You get beaten in the sprint in Sunday in Montreal, possibly beaten in the sprint here. It's he's shown he's got the good form. I bet he wishes he had a bit more of a kick towards the end, but I think he just has to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more, try and save a little bit, and just test Carapaz a little bit in the running.
Excuse me. It's about the only option he's got now. It's looking like Pogacar and Grosschartner are not going to reach these 2. There's still 12.5 kilometers to go, and just as you were saying there, Brian, we're seeing Sivakov just sitting on the wheel here, letting Carapaz do as much work, and that's probably going to be a feature of this run-in. It's the only option he really has. But he's looking relaxed, he's looking good. There's Pogacar and Grosschartner. Pogacar about to take his turn, a little nod across to his teammate. And it's not the terrain that Grosschartner perhaps excels in. He's such a strong climber, but he's still a quality bike rider. So
I really do think that the powerhouse in the front is Sivakov. He is probably the stronger of the 2. We saw that in the climb, but it's just Carapaz has got that better sprint. This is this kind of small lip that they've got. but Sivakov is continuing to ride. I still think it's still a little bit tight, 30 seconds. But I think he has to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more on the front and try and save something. He's on really, really good form.
Well, we see Pogačar here now on his own. This it's a long race, 191 kilometers. He's not raced for a while, as we all know. And now Grossschartner up ahead. So these two splitting, which I'm pretty surprised to see, actually, Brian. I thought they would have been able to hold it together, so stay together to the finish. But I guess now Pogačar did have a little look across at Grossschartner and maybe just said, go for it, see what you can do.
Well, I think it's just a moment of, weakness for Pogačar. That I still stand by that UAE Team Emirates did the wrong tactics on that climb. This does mean that Sivakov has got a bit of breathing space now, that he can afford to allow Carapaz to do a little bit more. I don't think Grossschartner on his own is going to make that difference, but I think Pogačar, he tried as hard as he could. He knew that he was struggling a little bit today. They came back in the descent, but unfortunately we got on the flat at 17-18 seconds. It's just been, a little bit of a step too far, and I really do think that Pogačar is on his way back to the peloton behind.
Yeah,
he's just absolutely gone.
Yeah,
can't get a drink. He won't allow. He's asking for a drink from the commissaire there, and they're not allowed. Not allowed to feed inside the last 20 kilometres, or until unless it's been designated 10 kilometres ago. But it does look as if 20 kilometres ago, not allowed. He wanted a drink, looked round to commissaire. Commissaire said no, and the cars just had to go and leave him. So I think he's probably felt confident today. That's why the team came up to the front. But he's just gone pop. Simple as that. And just needing that little bit of a drink. Well, these two are racing on. And Grossschartner is trying to hold on to that kind of final third podium place, but let's see what Sivakov has got left. There's no way he's just going to ride into the finish. I think he has to test out Carapaz.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think he's got to put the pressure on Carapaz and just maybe dig a little, see what Carapaz has got, but he's got to do it early. Grossschartner is in no man's land at the moment in third place, and the group just under a minute, the big group a minute behind Grossschartner. There is Pogačar here. His day is done, but he may have got what he wanted out of this one. We'll see how things are looking tomorrow for him. They did look good earlier. I agree with your tactic. The only way that I think they really had a chance was to have 4 riders coming into this section and just put the hammer down on the rest of the peloton, but it didn't work out that way. It's easily said, but once you're out on the climb, things are playing out as they do. But there's our 2 leaders, and they've been leading for much of the last 25 kilometers or so. Carapaz coming through to take another turn on the front, and that is just what Sivakov needs. And Carapaz, perhaps a bit more expressive rider. Just you'll see a bit more in the face from him. Sivakov just keeps his cards relatively close to his chest. Not a rider that you can read easily in terms of the facial expressions. So Grossschartner there. Well, he's still got 2 bottles. I wonder if he's keeping them for himself. Obviously well ahead of Pogačar, but maybe there'll be someone in the peloton that will lend Pogačar a bottle once he gets back there. But Grossschartner now, difficult one for him to try and hold on, but the gap still reasonably in his favour of about a minute with 8.8 to go.
Yeah, he should be able to. I think that's the goal. Pogačar, slowly but surely, he'll be collected by the peloton behind. I think he's just kind of half waiting. Like you say, no bottles on his bike. Couldn't get a bottle off his team car, and he's got Formolo and Bennett, I think, just behind anyway. But that kind of flamboyant riding he normally has, that kind of confident riding, it kind of backfired a little bit on that climb, and tactical wise they got it completely wrong. But Sivakov now has to kind of think about how he can win this race. Of course, Carapaz has played well. He couldn't really kind of go with Sivakov, but he came back in the descent. But on these roads, it's always very difficult to shake off someone, because all Carapaz, in his mind, he just has to stay with Sivakov. He stays with him, comes to the finish, he's the better sprinter. But Sivakov, on the other hand, has to play this a little bit more different, and try and have an opportunity to put Carapaz under pressure, and flat run in on a road like this. You know, where can you do it? It's difficult. The only thing you can do is sit on for longer. When Carapaz flicks the elbow, just say, no, you know, you're the better sprinter. But then when you do that, Carapaz knows that, you know, he's preparing himself to attack, and all Carapaz has to do is just jump directly onto the wheel.
It's of course the first race for Carapaz since the Tour, so we don't know just how much you know, he's got in the end. So, you know, he's not been racing, maybe hasn't quite got the racing legs. So, and obviously Sivakov is going to know that. So if ever there was a day to really test Carapaz, today could be that day. So, and Sivakov is not going to want another second place. So, yeah, it's, Carapaz.
Not a lot you can do.
No, not a lot indeed.
There's some people have made a career out of finishing second. Even this year, you have to think of Derek G of Israel Premier Tech, and the amount of seconds that he got.
That was fun back in the Giro, wasn't it? So, well, Carapaz abandoning the Tour after the first stage. Not exactly the season he wants, but a win here would certainly reignite it. He had an okay Dauphiné as well before that. So this is a return from injury for Carapaz, but a few other riders returning to injury as well. Louis Mentis as well. We've not actually seen him on that screen today, but he's in there as far as I believe. 6.4 to go. Nobody's catching these two, of course, and it is all about what Sivakov can do to try and shake off Carapaz. Or is Carapaz, the Ecuadorian, is he fresh? Is he ready to out-sprint his former teammate, Richard Carapaz?
So Pogacar now with Formolo and Zanuck. So he's got a little bit of help now, but I think the main action is there. It's just going to ask for Formolo for a drink now.
Yeah, and he gets one.
Good
to have teammates. Good to have teammates at hand. Let's not go too west of Scotland, Brian, because I know we've got two of us here, and thankfully you can understand our accents. But if we commentate together anymore, I worry that we would drift into something that might not be understandable for our viewers around them. Posh Paisley. I don't know what posh East Kilbride is like. But enough about that. 5.5 to go. Carapaz and Sivakov there at the front, and we're working back towards the town of Pontedera. That's where we started. It is where we will finish in this race.
It's a real difficult one for Carapaz. Sivakov now, with Carapaz being such a good finisher now, and clearly, you know, really motivated to win this race today.
If you're Sivakov now, the Frenchman, at what point do you go for a little dig? We've still got under 5 to go.
Perfect.
This little climb would have been, yeah.
Just a test.
Just a little tester, and just see, all right, what have you got? You haven't raced for a while. We know that Sivakov has got the racing in the legs. He's got the form. He knows this race could be his, and that may have been the opportunity, or it may come a little later in this one. But running out of time, and the closer we get to the line, I think we're both on the same page with this one. The stronger it's going to be. It's looking for Carapaz.
Yeah, he'll just jump on everything. It's Sivakov. He's ridden well today. I think when he came to the front, it's not many riders can say that they've kind of ridden Carapaz and Pogacar off the wheel, but he's managed to do that. But he clearly has good form looking at the weekend result. But I'd be really surprised if he didn't try something in the running. Whether Ineos Grenadiers and Sivakov are happy just to put it down to the sprint in the end and and take second. You know, nothing's guaranteed, but you have to think Carapaz is just that little bit quicker in the end.
Well, under 4 to go, and it's Sivakov doing the work on the front of this pairing. Sivakov was first over the Monte Serra, the second time of asking. Carapaz joined him on the descent. Did think that perhaps Gross-Schartner and Pogacar were going to make this a group of 4 leading the race, but it hasn't played out that way. And now it's between these two for the win here in the Giro della Toscana. Sivakov,
I think it has slowed down a little bit at the front now. Sivakov looks a little bit more relaxed. The gap to Gross-Schartner, 33 seconds. You've got to remember it went over 40 seconds, and I think they've relaxed a little bit more at the front, just thinking about the last kind of 3 kilometres. But if Sivakov is thinking something, he's leaving it really, really late.
And it's not the most tricky of run-ins as well, so there's not too many opportunities where you can spring a surprise. The last 3 kilometres, you've got a long straight, a left-hander, 2 left-handers, and then quite a long right-hander onto the sprint for the line. So there's not many opportunities if you're going to do anything. And you see Sivakov, this is just another little kick up out of this bridge here. It's back in Pontedera. But Carapaz on his wheel, quite happy for Sivakov to do the work. Maybe he just doesn't have, there was a big effort on the climb, maybe he's not got anything. Just going to see how this one shakes out once we get down to the line, and maybe hope that Carapaz has quite got the sprint in his legs, having not raced much this season. There's the view of the town. Famous scooter manufacturer based in this part of the world. We're in the Arno Valley. A couple of rivers meet here, the Era River and the Arno River. 20 kilometers away from Pisa. Now with 2 to go, Sivakov on the front here. 30 seconds back, 32 back to Gross-Schartner, who looks like he's going to hang on for 3rd place. It's time for Carapaz to take another turn. You see, it's just a little grimace, but I'm not reading too much into that one with Carapaz. It's how he always kind of rides. So these roads, great if you're on a time trial, but if you're trying to shake off, Carapaz, it's not going to be ideal. Traffic stopped on the bridge and actually go back under the bridge here, which is quite handy. You might see the big group across the bridge. So round this left-hander. 1.4 to go. We've got one more.
There we go.
Oh, here we go. That's it. So Sivakov goes for it with 1.3 to go. Has Carapaz got anything? He's trying to match him just on that turn, and Sivakov is off.
Oh, he left it late. I've just seen him. I thought it might have been just laying off, but I just thought laying off because it was a roundabout. You know, he isn't kind of great descender, but just laid off. He left it until the last ramp to do it. Really, must have been really confident, but I did believe that he'd eased off a little bit because Gross-Schartner he wasn't losing. In fact, he was gaining. So that's all he needed, just one little ramp, and he just waited to the last one to do it, and it looks as if he's going to take this one. Well, tactically it has worked out well. Carapaz is still going, trying it, perhaps in vain, through this longer right-hand turn. 700 metres or so to go for Pavel Sivakov, second in Montreal just a few days ago, and now looking like he's going to ride away to victory, but Carapaz still charging, and Sivakov's not got much left. Now you can see the grimace on his face. Can he hold on? We're on the final sprint for home, and Pavel Sivakov, Ineos Grenadier, trying to get to that line. He looks over his shoulder. He's going to do it. Sivakov tactically gets it absolutely spot on in the final kilometre and a half.
Carapaz comes across the line in second, and Brian, we were getting a little worried for Sivakov, but he got it absolutely spot on.
No, I'm pleased, really pleased for him. You left it late. You left it to the last one. Sometimes what you might want to do is just kind of test out, because sometimes if you leave it late and it doesn't come off, you really don't know what Carapaz had left in the legs. But it was perfect in the end. You know, there was questions over the tactics of UE Team Emirates. They do get third with Groschartner here. But, you know, I'm really, really pleased for Sivakov taking that one. He deserved it. He was the strongest rider in the race. He took with him quite a good finisher in Carapaz, but I was just thinking big wide roads, and when he backed off in that roundabout, I thought, right, it's just because of the roundabout he's backed off, and then he went, and you could see straight away that was it, and that's why I said it, that was it, because Carapaz just didn't have that punch left in the legs.
Next group coming across the line, this battle for fourth place. It's a couple of the UAE Team Emirates riders in there, Formolo, Pogacar and Zana there, and now Pogacar's found a little bit more on this final sprint for the line. Hopefully we see them cross the line. Well, there, Pogacar.
He got a drink.
Yeah, that's what he needed. And he holds off Zana, finishes in fourth, so there'll be some good lessons learned today for Pogacar, and it's after a nice break over the summer. So now main bunch coming across for the final places, and Ethan Hayter in there as well, just trying to see if he can get there. He doesn't have any lead out, but he's going for it. Ethan Hayter looking across.
Albanese.
Yes, Albanese there, but Ethan Hayter taking the bunch sprint for seventh place. Struggle with my maths. I think it was seventh. We'll see soon. Well, a good day for Ineos Grenadiers, and a good few days for Sivakov. And after, fair to say, a little bit of disappointment missing out on a win, comes back in his next race, and Sivakov takes it.
Well ridden there, because I was watching the gap in Groschartner alone, because when he was with Pogacar, they were putting time into Pogacar and Groschartner, and then Groschartner started coming back, so it was clear that he started to kind of back off. He was the strongest rider there, backed off a little bit, but boy, did he leave it late. That's a big risk, and you know, that's a bold move to leave it until the last, like a flyover in the end, but he did it, and it was well deserved.
Well deserved indeed. I just wonder how much they were sort of banking on Carapaz, maybe not quite being as race sharp as he would like at this point of the season, coming back from that injury at the Tour. So, but they've obviously had their plan and they've executed well. UAE Team Emirates making do with third and fourth here, with Groschartner, Pogacar, Zana coming across the line in fifth, Formolo sixth, Ethan Hayter seventh, and from Yolo Cometa, Vincenzo Albanese finishing in eighth place. Well, they're going to do it all again tomorrow, the 71st Coppa Sabatini. Slightly different roads tomorrow. We've got coverage of that one. 2 p.m. at 2 p.m. in the UK. Myself and Ian Field on commentary for that one as well. Can't beat a little bit of the Tuscan sunshine on a mid-September day. UAE Team Emirates, I think they did try, they controlled things onto the Monte Sierra, the final, the second of two laps, but as Brian, you were saying, tactically perhaps made an error. And we see, looking back on Pogacar's sprint after he's had his little drink and finding a little bit more power, just testing those legs out in the sprint. Looked pretty good on the climb just until the last kilometre or so. But there is today's winner, Pavel Sivakov. How's your Italian, Brian?
No, not very good. Not very good. But look, it's easy to kind of sit here and know what kind of happened. I don't think they kind of expected Pogacar to get dropped. Maybe they didn't know how good Sivakov was. They kind of lost it over the last kind of 2 kilometres of that climb. And you could see that Bennett, when he pulled out, and I said it at the time, probably better just ease off, just take a kilometre off, and then they would have had more numbers come the end. And then when Groschartner went and Sivakov went over the top, they should have known straight away that, you know, just kind of follow and don't kind of aid. But yet, what happened was Groschartner came back and went straight to the front and rode for Pogacar. They never saw what, you know, we were looking at or learned the lesson there, because Sivakov brought Groschartner back, rode past, then get back up and just went straight to the front. Well, he should have just sat in the wheel, and they might have played the tactical game, but it's clear that, and I like it when races play out like this, that, you know, it's a hard enough climb to split the race to pieces, but you have to say the strongest man won the race.
You, a win that you look for a long time, no?
Yeah, I've been looking for a win for a long time. You know, last year I won Burgos, but I didn't raise the hands. It was just like, I mean, it was GC, but yeah, I'm really happy to win now.
What do you think about your race when you understand that you can win?
I mean, in the climb, I was the strongest. I was first over the top. So, yeah, when I was with Richie, I knew he's faster than me in the downhill, so the chances were like he would come back. And also with two, it was a long valley, so it was better to be with him. And then, yeah, I could feel that I was stronger in the final. So I just, yeah, I attacked in the last bridge because I knew he's faster on the sprint. So gave it all and it worked. So yeah, super happy.
Well, I don't have any sound for that interview. Did you, Brian?
Yeah, it went out. It was in English. He said he went over the top. He was the strongest. He went over the top in the climb, but he knew Carapaz would possibly make it back up to him in the descent, and then it was a long way to the finish. So it was better that the two of them rode together. He did feel stronger in the run in, and saved it all for that. And it went flat out in that last kind of small drag up towards the finish, because if he brought Carapaz to the finish, he's the better sprinter. So it kind of worked out, but it was just left a little bit late. So I believe that if he'd have done it, and there was a couple of occasions in the run-in that he could have tested, and I think he would have been able to go solo. But unless you test, you don't know how the rider you're with is, or riders you're with are feeling. But he left it hell of a late there. But I think you get that feeling in a race, that you know that, and you get confident that you can drop the rider that you've got, and he had that after a long wait for a win. It's bold and confident move to make.
Bold and confident, good way to describe it. He's been fairly consistent this season, and obviously coming off the back of second in Montreal behind Adam Yates, but now nothing better than getting on the top step of the podium. We're going to have a little look back some of the action that happened earlier today, about 20 minutes ago. So you can see at this stage they were out on the road for such a long part of the race, and we were wondering quite what the tactic would be. Groschartner ended up on his own. He was riding with Pogacar for a little bit. We did think that, I certainly thought that they would be able to bridge across to the two leaders, but Pogacar not having the legs today, and hopefully we'll see that little move that Sivakov made coming into the final kilometre and a half. Here it is, just coming out the roundabout onto the flyover, sneaks on the inside, and Carapaz tried to react.
He didn't expect it. You see that moment hesitation there, he came round,
that was enough.
Sivakov went, and it's that moment hesitation. I don't think he expected to go.
I think you're right. I think he's thinking this is going to probably play out to the line, but well, it worked out for the Frenchman and Ineos Grenadiers today. As Sivakov, you see him here. He looks over his shoulder. and now realizes he can sit up, and he's got it. And that's a big release of emotion. Big effort today for him. Nice reception from the crowd as well. Certainly be a rider that could go well tomorrow as well in the Coppa Sabatini. Puts himself in a good position to take that little combined title that we have between the two races. 1,500 euros on offer. Excuse me for that. There's the top 10. As we've seen, just 4 seconds in the end. 45 back to Großschartner. Pogacar winning a little sprint with Zana, and Ethan Hayter in 7th place, winning the sprint for that one ahead of Albanese. Nice to see a few Italians, 4 Italians in the top 10 ahead of on home soil. And of course, we've got our top 10, and Sivakov should be on the podium very soon. Looks like they're getting ready. Carapaz there as well. And as I don't have any sound, I apologise if I talk over anything that happens here, so do my best. Good day for Großschartner as well, on the podium, finishing in 3rd place. Was second in the Deutschland Tour back in August. 3rd in the Breton Classic back at the start of this month. Großschartner, 29 years old, from Austria. 8 race wins, exceptional climber. So is this man as well. 30-year-old from Ecuador, Richard Carapaz. Disappointment at the Tour de France for him. And this his first race back since that day in July where it all went a little bit wrong. Gets his bag of shopping, and hopefully they put some local delicacies in that bag for them. You can see they've got a nice bottle of something, but making his way onto the top step of the podium. Pavel Sivakov, Frenchman, 26 years old. Flying straight in from Montreal. Just got back to Europe the other day, and now on the top step of the podium. 53rd in the Grand Prix Quebec and 2nd in the Grand Prix Montreal. The 2 World Tour races. But there, our top 3, and a pretty interesting top 3. It played out well. Interesting race for us to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. My apologies if I spoke over the start of the French national anthem there. I'm having 1 or 2 sound issues. It's a nice moment there for Sivakov. And Brian, in this situation, I think it's pretty much the same start list for tomorrow. These guys, I think, are going to be up there again. Certainly Sivakov with the form he's in.
Definitely. See, it's a case of when you got form, you recover quick as well. It's as simple as that, and you would expect it. And it'll be interesting to see what Pogacar decides to do, because he was down for tomorrow. He rode today. He took a bit of a kind of beating, kind of ran out of juice towards the end. But he might decide that he wants to start again and be part of the team. But they were well beaten today, especially by this man who was the strongest rider in the race. Carapaz, good to see him up there, coming to form, especially at this part of the year. It just means another rider in the mix. Großschartner, as you said, has some good performances so far recently. But there were a few people thinking that maybe they couldn't follow on that climb today. And there's a few went kind of missing today. You have to think of Astana. That had no real kind of riders up there. Tejada was one of them, but he kind of fell away. So what can they do? So maybe slightly different tactics, but it should be another interesting race for you.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it there, and we'll see how it all shapes up tomorrow. You can watch it at 2 p.m. in the UK if you want to see that one. I'm just going to have a quick check. Well, Pogacar's still on the start list for it. I think we're going to see him in the race tomorrow. It's another hilly one, a couple of big hills on it, so we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be a good race. Myself and Ian Field bringing you the coverage of that one. A surprise giving comes to a close, at least I think it does. Any final thoughts, Brian, on what we've seen today?
No, it's been a good race. I'm pleased for Sivakov. It's been a while. Burgos, I think it was last year, he got a win, and it's, you can see he's got the form, and for him to win this, and even in the run in towards the finish, having that confidence to kind of wait to the last drag up just outside a kilometre to go to beat Carapaz. Nobody would have been overly confident in that situation, but he was.
Well, a nice moment. Get that champagne sprayed around. A little drink. There's some sugars. It's not champagne, actually. I should get that right. It's looks like a sparkling rosé. Lovely on a hot day. Not sure it's the best recovery drink, but each to their own on that one. So I don't think we're going to have any more interviews here. There'll just be a few little moments of press, photographs, and of course the social media is all going to get done. So important these days. So I think with the prize giving all wrapped up, the feed will probably be coming to a close any moment now. So Brian, anything else you want to add before we say thanks to everyone?
No, just good race in the end, and over to you.
Thanks for watching. See you again soon.